Beyond the Gates spoilers teasing that the notorious killer Leslie Thomas is gearing up to unleash her most brutal campaign yet, targeting anyone who dares stand in her way. In a shocking escalation of violence, Leslie is poised to strike not one, but possibly two victims at once, demonstrating that there is virtually no boundary she is unwilling to cross to protect her secrets and exact revenge. For fans who have witnessed her relentless vendetta against Nicole Richardson and the devastation she has wrought upon that family, this week's revelations will push the line between hatred and outright psychopathy. As we dive into the heart of Leslie's twisted crusade, prepare for a deep plunge into the cold calculations and blood-soaked consequences that she believes are necessary to stay free and in control. Ever since Nicole Richardson dared to steal Ted Richardson away from her, Leslie has been consumed by a burning desire to punish anyone remotely connected to that perceived betrayal. She has stalked, threatened, and manipulated her way through Robertstown's underbelly, using charm and cold cunning in equal measure. At first, Nicole was just one more name on Leslie's long list of grudges. But when Leslie's lover and ultimately her fiancé chose Nicole's warm embrace over her own manic devotion, Leslie felt something irrevocably collapse inside her. In the weeks that followed, viewers watched in morbid fascination as Leslie plotted increasing horrors, sending veiled threats on Nicole's phone, vandalizing her home late at night, and orchestrating a hit-and-run that left Ted briefly unconscious. Each step in that deranged campaign served as a grim reminder that for Leslie, love twisted into obsession is a poison more potent than any chemical she might inject. But the vengeance did not end with Nicole and Ted. In the wake of that failed attempt on Ted's life, Leslie turned her attention to Laura Peterson, the one person brave enough to testify that Leslie was behind the hit-and-run. Laura had been the whistleblower on Leslie's involvement in the accident. She saw the distinctive flaming skull decal on the bike helmet, matched it to the helmet shelves in Leslie's garage, and refused to be silenced. As protagonist after protagonist implored Laura to remain safe, the audience braced for retaliation, and Leslie did not disappoint. In a tense hospital sequence that has already become infamous among fans, Leslie slipped into Laura's ICU room under the guise of a concerned friend. She smuggled in a vial of potassium chloride odorless compound that, when administered intravenously in high doses, can cause cardiac arrest. Doctors had managed to stabilize Laura after she was admitted, but Leslie's stealthy injection almost succeeded in making Laura's silence permanent. That poisoning attempt was a near miss. Frantic doctors identified the irregularities in Laura's cardiac monitor before irreversible damage occurred, whisking her off to be detoxified. In the aftermath, Leslie's fingerprints on the crime were nearly too obvious. She'd used an old hospital ID badge pillaged from a security guard she'd once blackmailed, wore surgical gloves bearing her own initials scrawled in disappearing ink pen, and even dialed Laura's room extension from a burner phone traced back to a payphone outside the Fairmont Crest. Yet somehow, Leslie managed to evade arrest, an astonishing feat that left the entire community convinced she was protected by some unseen force, or perhaps a law enforcement system too fractured and corrupt to convict a woman who seemed untouchable. Now, swaying between hysteria and morbid fascination, the townsfolk whispered that Leslie Thomas has become a full-fledged monster, unbound by conscience and capable of anything. Almost everyone agrees she belongs behind bars. Chief among those demanding justice is Shanice Johnson, a tenacious defense attorney with a reputation for taking on impossible cases. Shanice has been vocal in public and ruthless in private about bringing Leslie to justice. She has pored over every shred of evidence, from the tire treads at the hit-and-run scene to the security camera footage that faintly caught Leslie's silhouette in Laura's ICU hallway. Shanice went on local talk shows, brandishing an evidence packet like a blood-soaked trophy, warning viewers that Leslie was a ticking time bomb. She even threatened to file motions for complete seizure of Leslie's assets, pledging to bankrupt her if official channels failed. Leslie, in turn, heard every word, her cold blue eyes studiously fixed on Shanice's image on television, as though taking mental notes of every syllable. It did not take long for viewers to realize that if anyone was going to pay for pressing charges, Shanice was going to be at the top of Leslie's hit list. Despite Shanice's formidable reputation, her courtroom victories, and airtight legal strategies, she is entirely mortal, and Leslie is nothing if not resourceful. Recent surveillance footage captured Leslie discreetly following Shanice on late-night runs. In that grainy footage, Leslie's gait is slow, almost predatory, as though calculating the exact moment to strike. Friends close to Shanice describe how she has begun carrying a panic alarm and sleeping with a baseball bat by her bed, but there is a tragic recognition that, compared to Leslie's escalating depravity, those measures might not be enough. The writing is on the wall. Leslie plans to make Shanice either pay with her life or land in the hospital crippled enough to be too afraid to testify. This means that sometime this week, viewers should steel themselves for a sequence that will be brutal in its coldness. Imagine Shanice arriving late at her upscale loft after a marathon day in court, her tailored suit jacket slung over one arm, evidence folders under the other. She unlocks her door only to see the lockjam. Panic flares, she jostles the lock, then feels a sudden weight press against her back. Before she can scream, Leslie's gloved hand claps over her mouth, eyes wild with fanatic intensity. In whispered hiss, Leslie taunts, "You think you can stick your nose into my business, Johnson? Think again." Within moments, Leslie could choose the most efficient route, a blow to the head that leaves Shanice unconscious, dragged into the loft's shadowy nook, leaving her battered but aliver. A more permanent solution, a garrote fashioned from braided headphone cords, tightened slow enough to prolong terror, punctuated by Leslie's cold indulgence in Shanice's final pleas. The result will be a chilling example of criminal genius untouched by remorse. Even if Shanice survives, bruised and broken in the hospital, the message will reverberate. Cross Leslie Thomas and you will pay a steep, maybe irreversible price. As we shift our gaze to Kat Richardson, a very different kind of storm begins to brew. Unlike Shanice, Kat's vendetta is propelled by relentless obsession and righteous fury, but she remains fully aware that Leslie's reach cannot be underestimated. Kat has devoted her life to constructing a brand beginning with Chelsea Hamilton's artisan wallets, pieces she designed personally, and parlaying that success into a thriving social media empire. Her Instagram feed, once filled with tasteful snapshots of leather polish and suede textures, now devolves into a battlefield. Dark, dramatic lighting showcases incriminating documents, scraps of email exchanges, and cryptic captions implying Leslie's complicity in heinous crimes. Kat's Mischianto reveal Leslie and her daughter Eva Thomas as the architects of both the near-fatal bike accident that left Nicole's brother hospitalized and the attempted murder of Laura Peterson has become obsessive. She crosses every boundary, violating private property to retrieve Leslie's discarded biker gear, hacking into Eva's Facebook messages, and even bribing minor informants to get closer to the truth. As she says to herself in a near-silent voiceover, "If I can just lay out the smoking gun, the judge will throw her away like trash, and Eva, that spoiled little accomplice, will rot in jail or wish she had." Kat's determination is laser-focused, but her aggression comes at a cost. Her once supportive cousin Chelsea grows increasingly nervous as Kat's rhetoric becomes more violent. Chelsea fears that Kat's brand, once synonymous with craftsmanship and elegance, will become irreparably tainted by accusations, lawsuits, and potential defamation suits filed by Leslie's high-powered attorneys. Yet Kat plows ahead, certain that the truth will vindicate her. In one particularly unsettling scene, Kat breaks into Eva's meticulously organized apartment, determined to find proof of Eva's part in the car accident. She locates a hidden shoebox containing receipts for car parts matching those used to sabotage Nicole's beloved classic convertible. As the camera zooms in on Kat's expression pale, eyes hooded in fanatic focus, viewers recognize that Kat has crossed into moral grayness. Her crusade to expose villains teeters on the brink of repeating Leslie's brand of obsession-fueled violence. Meanwhile, Leslie, ever vigilant, is aware of Kat's every step. She monitors Kat's social media with relentless vigilance, alert to any clue that Kat plans to confront her at home or in public. Realizing that Kat's exposure plan could lead not only to Leslie's incarceration, but also to Eva's blacklisting, leaving mother and daughter with nothing, Leslie concludes that striking at Kat will serve dual purposes: remove a threat and simultaneously wound Nicole and Ted, Kat's closest allies. If Kat is incapacitated or permanently silenced, the ripple effect will be devastating. Nicole will lose her staunchest defender, and Ted will be left scrambling to protect the family's name and estate. In Leslie's calculating mind, this is pure genius. And if Kat's demise requires a duo of killers, Leslie herself and Eve, then so be it. After all, Eva idolizes her mother's ruthless logic and is equally determined to destroy anyone who dares defy them. Viewers should brace for a scene that unfolds under the cover of night. Imagine Kat heading to a secret rendezvous with Chelsea to share the damning evidence she's collected, stopping at a quiet cafe on Estabrook Street. Unbeknownst to her, Eva sits in a nearby booth, feigning teenage apathy as she scrolls through her phone. When Kat slides out the classified photograph showing Leslie brandishing the potassium vial near Laura's hospital bed, Eva's eyes flash with contempt. She rises, fabricating a pretext to approach Kat, and Chelsea purporting to be a fan of Kat's wallet designs who admires her courage. Kat, unsuspecting, laughs politely, diving into an impassioned rant about how far a mother will go to protect her child, unaware that Eva's ears hang on her every word. Chelsea notices Eva's sudden interest and gives Kat a warning glance. Be careful, Kat, something about her seems off. Kat brushes it off, chalking it up to natural curiosity. But as the three women step out of the cafe into the chilly night, headlights flare from a black SUV parked across the street. Before Kat can register the danger, Leslie steps out of the passenger side, sliding something shiny into her pocket, perhaps a small suppressor or a vial. Her eyes lock onto Kat's with murderous intent. At that moment, Eva, brandishing a taser, lunges toward Kat, while Leslie, hands steady as a surgeon's, raises a silenced pistol. The cafe street lamp flickers to red just as the shot rings out. Kat's yelp echoes against brick walls, and Chelsea screams as Eva's diode tips find Kat's arm, sending a jolt that knocks her to the pavement. Leslie, satisfied, yanks Kat's phone from her hand, smashing it before she can alert anyone. Chelsea crawls to Kat's side, wails piercing the night, while Leslie and Eva slip into the SUV, tires screeching away into darkness. The following morning, the headline: social media star Kat Richardson found gravely injured, suspect still at large, splashes across every news outlet. The town's atmosphere turns to ash with shock. To strike at Kat so public, so beloved, reveals a brazen escalation that even Leslie's most ardent followers find chilling. Nicole Richardson, upon hearing the news, collapses to her knees outside the local courthouse, fists clenched as tears stream down her face. Ted Richardson vows on live television that he will stop at nothing to bring Leslie and Eva to justice. But in the same breath, he confides to an aide that he fears Leslie's resources and cunning are too vast to overcome. Meanwhile, Leslie's next move is already in motion. Realizing that Kat's partial incapacitation might still threaten her, Leslie orchestrates a secondary plan. She arranges for a falsified video to surface on the internet depicting Kat in a ruthless altercation, a staged clip designed to turn public opinion against Kat as volatile and dangerous, thereby undermining any sympathy for her plight. Leslie's co-conspirators in a shadowy editing studio splice footage of Kat angrily confronting a barista into a more incriminating montage, overlaying captions that suggest she is mentally unstable. The clip goes viral overnight, dividing the community. Some decry Leslie's handiwork, while others demand Kat's reputation be revoked and her brand torn to shreds. Within hours, Kat's once thriving Instagram followers plummet. Her phone rings nonstop with hate messages and threats, and the Richardson bank accounts receive calls from legal teams warning of defamation suits. It is a masterstroke by Leslie, turning victim into villain in the eyes of the public. Yet even as Leslie basks in her perceived triumph, she underestimates the resilience of those she targeted. Kat, though battered, remains lucid and defiant. From her hospital bed, propped up on pillows, she records a tear-streaked live video, acknowledging the pain in her voice. "Yes, I was attacked last night. But I am not a monster." It is clear who orchestrated this: Leslie Thomas and her accomplice, Eva. The video you saw today is their propaganda. If you believe them, you accept lies as truth. Her words strike a chord with thousands, sparking a groundswell of support. Suddenly, justice for Kat trends as sympathizers emerge from across the digital landscape, flooding forums with evidence that contradicts Leslie's narrative. Nicole Richardson issues a galvanizing statement: "My cousin is a survivor, and we will not rest until Leslie Thomas and Eva Thomas face the full weight of the law." Public opinion begins to shift, but the battlefield has only grown more treacherous. Amid this maelstrom, news arrives that Shanice Johnson was discovered unconscious in her loft, battered and bleeding, left for dead by a single, precise blow to the back of her skull. She was rushed to Mercy General Hospital, undergoing emergency surgery to relieve a subdural hematoma. Though her pulse is steady, doctors remain unsure if she will regain full cognitive function. The community is horrified that Leslie's depravity extends to almost killing a woman who only wanted justice. Police raid Leslie's hideout that same night after tracing Shanice's phone SMS geotag to a burner phone rolled out of Leslie's car. They haul in a shell-shocked Eva, still shaking from the shock of her mother's decision to escalate matters even further. Under intense questioning, Eva offers only a few stuttering remarks. "Two didn't know she'd hit her so hard. Mama told me to scare her." Leslie, however, remains elusive, using a network of safe houses and paid-off witnesses to stay one step ahead of every legal trap. Rumors swirl that she has already slipped over state lines, intent on forging a new identity before authorities can close in. In the wake of these attacks, the Richardson family and their allies brace for a fight that has gone beyond the realm of ordinary murder and vengeance. Nicole Richardson spends her days consulting with high-profile attorneys, filing motions to freeze Leslie's bank accounts, and collaborating with Shanice's legal team to obtain protective orders on behalf of both Shanice and Kat. Ted Richardson leads a discreet group of former military operatives, hard men with loose tongues tasked with tracking down Leslie's last known whereabouts. Kat, from her four-lined bed, drafts a public letter to every network affiliate and publication she can think of, decrying the corrupt underbelly that allowed Leslie to inflict so much pain unchecked. Meanwhile, Chelsea Hamilton channels her grief into action, spearheading a fundraising gala for Shanice's mounting medical bills and Kat's business rehabilitation. The privilege of charity breathes new life into Chelsea's vocation as a philanthropic entrepreneur. She shows the world that if Leslie is the darkness, they are the flashlight illuminating her crimes. Yet the war is far from over. As June's second week looms, rumors start to circulate that Leslie Thomas is planning her next move, one so catastrophic that even hardened investigators quiver at the thought. Some whisper that she has acquired black market cyanide from a Southeast Asian cartel, enough to poison the entire staff at Fairmont Crest's grand reopening gala. Others claim she intends to kidnap Nicole's youngest daughter, a cunning plan to trade her for Leslie's freedom. Still more fear that Leslie has enlisted a team of cleaners, contract killers skilled at disappearing without a trace to eliminate every last person who can connect her to the poisoned vial used on Laura, the blow dealt to Kat, or the near-fatal assault on Shanice. As these rumors build, The screen fades to black on an inside shot of Leslie herself, sitting before a dim vanity mirror in a nondescript motel room. Her reflection shimmers in the cracked glass as she applies a final layer of lipstick, deep, blood red, almost black. Her lips curl into a sly smirk as she tests the edge of a slender blade against her fingernail. Her eyes narrow, seeing ghosts of every person who has dared defy her. She whispers, "Soon, they will all see exactly what I am capable of." The camera lingers on the cruelty shining in her Gaussian abyss that refuses to blink. Beyond the Gates has skillfully built Leslie Thomas into the embodiment of unchecked rage and murderous ingenuity. Each thread: Leslie's vengeance against Nicole and Ted, her poisoning of Laura, the targeted attacks on Shanice and Kat, and the looming threat against an entire community has been meticulously woven to convey that this killer is not just a villain but a force of nature. Her daughter Eva, once an innocent bystander, has now been baptized in her mother's blood-soaked gospel, learning to rationalize violence as the only path to survival. And Kat, the champion of truth, stands battered but unbroken, her spirit a beacon in the darkness. This week's episodes will test every character's resolve. Shanice fights for her life under neurologists' watchful eyes. Kat prepares for a dramatic return to the public stage, brandishing evidence she hopes will finally end Leslie's reign. Nicole and Ted marshal allies for a frontline defense against the mother-daughter duo, and Eva Thomas waits for her mother's next command, her conscience already a battlefield of loyalty and fear. Meanwhile, an entire town holds its breath, knowing that in any moment, Leslie could unleash the next wave of terror, leaving devastation in her wake. As the final seconds tick down to the next episode, viewers will find themselves clutching their remote controls, hearts pounding, wondering who will fall under Leslie's blade next and if anyone will emerge from the carnage with a shred of justice intact. One thing is certain, in Beyond the Gates' darkest corridors, the fans have never seen suspense so vibrant or malice so unforgiving. The question now is not if Leslie Thomas will commit her next atrocity, but who will be left to tell the tale.